everybody, and welcome to Sports Talk with Chris Heidel, and I'm here with my good friend Euan McCreath. We're here on a beautiful, hot Wednesday night, July 14th, a week before all the media days starting up, and we're going to be talking to some good old-fashioned ACC tonight here because you and I are going to be down there this time next week. We'll be feeding our face at the time.
Oh, absolutely. We take advantage of the great food. No question about it.
Exactly.
Herbie, excited to it's kind of a, last year was all kind of virtual and COVID, so it's great to get back to basics this year.
Exactly. Well, let's tell you the schedule for the first from 7 to 5 to 7:15. You and I will be talking about the top 5 quarterbacks in the ACC according to Aaron McCann from the ACC network. We're going to put him on the spot next week, but I want to talk to him if he's down there. And we're also going to do our power rankings. I found out about power rankings, and we'll rate what I found between the power rankings. So, and then Reese Becker, who covers the Dulles District for Old Dominion and Virginia Prep and high schools and all that stuff, and prep zones down there in the Commonwealth of Virginia, will be joining us at 7:15. And Mimi at Tangai, I think I worked it really hard. I think I saw this video, Euan, but I probably messed it up. Former Maryland Terrapin linebacker who is playing for the CFL Calgary Stampeders. We do a lot of CFL here because there are a lot of kids who didn't get drafted in the NFL go up to the Canadian League, so they're going to start up their league in August. So we got a chance to talk to him this evening at 7:30, and then we'll have Tim Chapman joining us, a national college football writer. We'll talk ACC, SEC Week 1. Because we got 3 big games that came out. We already talked about Georgia and Clemson, but we got Canes and Bama and Louisville and Mississippi.
Yeah. And of course, Clemson, Georgia to top it off.
Exactly. And then 8:15, we'll reminisce what was the AC Media Day with, I guess, Rob Sanders from Fox Sports AM 1400 in Columbus, South Carolina. He's going to be there next week. We're going to sit back and talk about the days that we were down there before COVID-19 and see what we're thinking, what we're going to see, and what we're going to be looking for next week. So that's going to be something at the end of the show. But around 7:45, Euan, I got some interviews I did last week. I edited the Ralph Sampson interview, so I'm going to put that on. And I talked to Jumbo Elliott yesterday, former Panther.
Wow.
Talked to him yesterday about the Panthers, and I hold the Chicago Bears sweetness thing for later in the year. So we'll talk about that.
Right on, man. Right on, Herb. Excited for next week, man. Excited to get down to Charlotte and do our thing.
Exactly. Let's talk about our we were talking about in show prep today. We had a limited show prep. We'll see what we see. Eric McLean, who does the stuff really good job for the ACC Network, former Clemson Tiger, came out with his top 5 quarterbacks. So we're going to see that if we believe him, if he's just making some stuff up for media day. So, so he says number 5, Brandon Armstrong from Virginia. What do you?
Yeah, I got to tell you, Herbie, I am, I don't know if you're gonna like this or not, but Florida State's got a kid coming back who hasn't played for 2 years, Mackenzie Milton. When he was at UCF in 2018, he tore it up. So at number 5, he's coming back. He's got something to prove. The kid was a highly sought-after recruit, and now it's his time. At number 5, I have Mackenzie Milton of your Florida State Seminoles.
I agree with you that. I think he's going to have something to show because he's been out for 2 years. He had a horrible injury that, basically everybody saw on ESPN, and I think everybody didn't think he was ever going to come back and, be a quarterback. Never got a chance at Central Florida to prove himself because they were helping him along. And now Mike Norvell, and by the way, Euan, you could talk to that gentleman because he's going to be down there next week.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing where his mindset is. Being away from the game for 2 years, it's a long time, Herbie.
Exactly. And you've seen quarterbacks over. You and I have been watching quarterbacks in pros in college, when you have a bad injury like Joe Theismann and Eric and Alex Smith and all that, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing.
Right. We'll see how the kid bounces back. Who's on your number 5?
Well, I believe it. I actually think you're number 5. I totally understand that. Because I think I just think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the ACC, no matter what. Yeah. But I think if you want to go with Florida State, they got 2 good quarterbacks. They got Jordan Travis, who is a
Right.
slot receiver slash, like the slash by Cordell Stewart. He could be quarterback, wide receiver, whatever. So I think that should be that should be number 5 on my list. The two Florida State, young guns. Because we got to get back to where Florida State football was.
Right.
Yeah.
And number 4, Herbie, I've got a choice that I got Malik Cunningham for Louisville. Louisville's defense has always been their Achilles heel, and in that they have to throw the football all over the yard. The kid's got a heck of an arm. He throws a pretty good deep ball, and I think this year he matures, makes better decisions. I mean, 20 TDs and 12 picks last year, not a terribly good ratio, but I think the kid matures. He can tuck it and run. So the 4th best quarterback in the ACC this year, I think, is Malik Cunningham, quarterback out of Louisville.
I want to say number 4 for me. I think this is a guy from Boston College.
Oh, Jerkovich, yeah.
Yeah, because I think he has a lot of things to prove because he was Ian Book's backup for a couple of
Right.
years. He goes to BC last year, gets them to go to a bowl game, and yes, he was playing in front of paper pictures of people, and nobody there, But
Right.
I feel like he has something to prove because he's back. And I think he's going to try to take BC. BC hasn't been relevant in a long time.
Yes.
Since Steve Delazio took it over, and he had the back-to-back running backs with Dylan and all that stuff. But
Right.
they haven't been great since I want to say they're in the Big East.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Herb. Let's see if Phil can put it together. I mean, they've always had a pretty good defense. They like to run the football. I like their mindset. It's just can they win? Can they win the big games, and can they win on the road?
And you see that arm. Look at that arm, dude.
That's beautiful.
That's a massive arm there. That's like an NFL type arm. I know that's against the Panthers defense, not against the Panthers. But I feel like that's a good arm for the NFL, and he could be going wherever he is. Well,
let's move on to number 3. The number 3, I agree. I got De'Ara King from the Hurricanes. I would prefer to have him at number 3 when he didn't say something against Alabama, but the kid's got some swagger. He's growing, and I like his confidence. Herb, 23 TDs and 5 picks last year, not bad. He didn't play the best against the toughest competition, but it's an area he can improve on.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on Pitt Panther fans tonight because there's all the interviews of highlights between not like ESPN when they pick on my New York Mets. They play Aaron Judge hit a home run against somebody like I don't even know. I'm like, why bother him? But I agree with number 3. King has a lot to prove because last year they made it. Yeah, he was a sleeper. From the transfer pool to Miami from Houston. He had a bad fallout with what's his name? The guy at West Virginia who was the coach, Holdenson, who's now in Houston. And now he comes back from a major ACL injury after he hurt himself in the bowl game. And I'm sorry, they should have knocked off Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State didn't have their running back who opted out, Hubbard, who didn't play. My Gundy got a haircut. That was a problem.
Oh my gosh! Great.
But I feel like King has a lot to prove. And then when we talked last week on the program, folks, if you saw it, it was like he was making like, oh, we're going to beat Alabama. Don't poke a bear, son.
Yeah, he'll learn. He'll learn. He's still young.
And this is going to be a storyline down there next Thursday. Next week when they're. People are going to ask him, why did you talk about poking a bear? You don't poke Nick Saban's Bears. Come on, man.
You're right, Herbie. Who do you have at number 2, Herbie?
Well, number 2 is a toss-up. I'm thinking I want to go with Eric because the guy from Clemson, DJ Uga, whatever his last name, I forget how.
Galalele.
Yeah, he's going to be there as well. But down there, we'll talk about it later with Ron Sanders. But he only played 2 games. He played Boston College, and then he played against Notre Dame on primetime on NBC, and that was a classic game. Back and forth. And I'm sorry, but if you're NBC, you're so glad you had that game on your program. Yeah, and you probably watched it too, right?
So who do you have at number 2, Herb?
Well, I want to say he's number 2 on my list. Okay. I agree with Eric because Eric.
I actually have him at number 2 too. I think it's not really a knock on him. And in those 2 games, we already talked last week about how he tore up Notre Dame. I mean, the most yards in any quarterback in history. I mean, that's insane. So he's playing with a whole bunch of confidence. He's hardly a backup, but 914 yards and 5 TDs. That's a pretty good backup. It's pretty good in mop-up roles. So it's not so much what he does or doesn't do. It's just that I like Sam Howell at number 1, Herb.
I agree with you. I think Sam Howell is the quarterback that, and if you're Florida State, Jimbo had him. Jimbo had Sam Howell on in his grasp. But when I asked Jimbo this last year, when he was at the the Orange Bowl, I said, you recruited Sam Howell to Florida State, did you? He goes, yeah, we did. But I couldn't sign him because I went off to Texas A&M. If he stayed at Texas A&M, Florida State would have had Sam Howell. And what type of Florida State team would you see the last 2 years? Right.
And, let's just touch on Sam a little bit. Strong arm. We know that he could he throws a great deep ball. 3rd year in Mac Brown's system. He's got really good pocket presence, Herb. And of course, we know he can do damage with his legs as well. 30 TDs, 7 picks, 3,500 yards. He is the best quarterback in the ACC conference this year.
Exactly, and I agree with you. So that's a little highlight there of Sam Howell. So that's the top 5 of for the top 5 quarterbacks.
We might have to do the power rankings next week. Is it 7:15 already?
It's 7:17. Let's bring in Reese because
let's bring in Reese.
Wow, we were just having a good time talking about it. So. Hey Reese, how you doing?
Oh, dude, I love that hair, Reese. That thing's money.
Hey, it's money. It's the face that runs the place.
Nice.
What up, Big Reese? Welcome to the show, man.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So,
by the way, it's Uli Agalale.
Yeah, I've been working on that.
We're working on that. We're trying to
just call him DJ until we get it down, Reese.
Yeah,
hey, that's fine. I call him DJ still too.
Exactly. So let's talk about Old Dominion. Big game coming up this year, week 1, first ever meeting against Wake Forest. They must be pretty excited. They didn't play football at all last year down there at Old Dominion. So what's the mood like? The mood like?
Excited. Brand new era. Ricky Ronnie coaching. The first ever, I think, Friday night season opener.
Wow.
I believe it's also the first opener against an ACC team. It's going to be a good game. I don't think people know what to expect out of ODU because obviously they didn't play last year, and they probably didn't see the spring practices I saw either. I think ODU has a shot to win it.
That's great. That's good.
And ODU has a shot to win the Virginia game also.
Right. Yeah, they beat Virginia Tech a couple of years ago, right? And it was the classic game down there in that really destroyed Virginia Tech's season.
Right. Reese, what have you seen in spring ball? What can we expect from ODU this year? Tell us your impressions. I know it's early, but share.
It's going to be fun to watch. It's
okay.
Going to be a lot of fun to watch. Who's going to start, DJ Mack or Hayden Wolf? It's probably going to be DJ Mack, I would say. From the transfer from UCF, hometown boy. Running backs are looking good. Wide receiver, I think the biggest hole could be defensive line. The offensive line is going to be great. Isaac Weaver's there. Tylon Hunt and the Maryland transfer. Santana Saunders, Kadir Kunta, Nick Saldivari. And then the defense, there's this kid who was at one time, I believe, interested in UNC, Lamarion James. He's going to be an absolute star for ODU.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll mark the tape on that, Herbie.
Yeah, I got some footage of DJ Mack there. He played with Central Florida. He looks like he reminds me of like a young Steve McNair.
Yep.
Wow.
He's bulky and he could actually move around the pocket, and that's what Steve McNair used to do.
Him coming home to ODU is a big deal. He's from Norfolk, Norview High School, which is maybe 15 minutes from ODU at the most. Went down to UCF, of course, and come home. And it's a big deal. This program has never had this much momentum around it. I mean, they've already got 5 commits in 2022. All guys that are really, really high quality. The transfers are great. ODU lost a few kids to the transfer portal, but made up for it with what they get now. And it's gonna. I know the over under most places is 3.5 wins, but that over looks really good if you bet.
Okay, nice, Reese. I love the gambling angle there, man. We got to get.
Of course, I cannot gamble.
Of course.
On ODU,
right,
or any Virginia team for that matter, but I would say, and I'm optimistic about it, I would say they're a bowl team this year. I think they start the year. I think they beat Wake Forest. They beat Hampton next week.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest games I see from them are Wake Forest, Liberty, and FAU.
Yeah, I think Florida Atlantic. I think Willie Taggart found a place to play.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be different this year for FAU. I'm sure about that, but
yeah, you can tell.
I think ODU can win 7-8 games this year.
Yeah, wow. Reese, you could tell in the background I'm a big Florida State fan, and we're not really happy with Willie Taggart. Yeah, it was just telling a story to you, Reese. You and I went to the ACC kickoff 2 years ago, and Willie Taggart was there. It was his last year, half a season before he got fired in the Miami game. He came up to me personally and goes, "I'll make sure we do better this year." I'm like, okay. I was like, I'll see you at halftime then, at the mid-season point. I was actually at a church service when he got fired. I had to go outside. I go, excuse me, I got to go outside for a minute. And I went outside. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Because I'm not a religious type of guy, but I was like, that guy's out of here. Thank God. Because he turned that program down. It was like people were opting out, people were quitting. It was a disaster.
I think he's going to do a lot better at FAU.
Yeah, because FAU has they don't have any expectations, right? They
do. They have expectations.
Yeah, except for going to Conference USA and go to the Bahamas Bowl.
Reese, I got to tell you something. 2 questions. First off, how do the ladies like the hair, pal? I'm still single. I need to mix it up a little bit,
Well, I mean, they like the fact that I have hair, first of all.
Yeah, Reese!
My approach to everything in life really comes from like a 1990s pro wrestling standpoint.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. Sergeant Slaughter was my man, dude. Let me get you in the camel clutch, Reese.
Mine is Scott Steiner. And
oh, yeah. Nice.
It really didn't start for me until like the mid-2000s when he tried to do math on live TV. No, but my it's been like this for about 2 years now. The beard, maybe 2 months now. I've had a beard since I was 12 years old though. But no, this is the face that runs.
So back to the ladies, pal. How do the ladies like it?
My girlfriend seems to like it. She hasn't told me to cut it yet.
Cool. All right, cool. I gotta ask you something, Reese. I'm a little surprised that Wake Forest is a 30-point favorite in this ball game. That's
favorite. Did you say
34 touchdowns.
Wow, I had not.
Yes.
Well,
what you're telling me, Reese, is that Christmas is actually coming in September. Like, dump out the piggy bank, get the change out from the couch, and throw it on ODU plus 32, huh?
Well, listen, I think the reason it's that high is because no one's seen ODU in a year. If you aren't in the media here in Norfolk, you haven't seen them play. I've been to their spring game, been to their spring practices. I'll be at their fall practices. This team, I don't want to get ODU fans riled up too much because I do enough of that on Twitter. But this team could be like a UCF team from a few years ago.
Yeah,
not this year. I mean, build on this year. I don't see any reason why they can't beat Wake Forest. And there's also a subplot to this game.
Sure.
Many are not aware. Billy Edwards Jr., the Wake Forest commit and signee at quarterback, was at one time an ODU commit.
Wow.
So there's a little subplot there, and that's not anything big, but it's there. But hey, remember what happened last time? An ACC opponent was a 4-touchdown favorite.
It was Virginia Tech.
It was Tech.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they left with their tail between their legs.
How about that?
And it was cost what's his name, Justin Fuente, his job because he was on the hot seat right after that, right? Ewan? He was like
Oh yeah, that's right.
That seat was cooking. You know.
I wrote an article last year about the recruiting in the Commonwealth. Ever since that upset, Tech has had a hard time. I mean, in the 2019 class, they only signed one kid from Virginia.
Wow.
Well,
half
Reese,
of ODU's rosters from Virginia.
Yeah, I agree with you because my parents have a place in Harrisonburg, Virginia, McCackeyville, and that's where JMU is.
Mm-hmm.
And JMU is very good in football. They're very quiet in the CAA. You know, they do a great job. I think they need to move to a Power 5 conference to get some more respect. But you know, with the CAA, you know, if JMU leaves CAA football, that whole conference is gone. You know, because you know you don't have the name power like JMU. But I agree with you. That whole 81 South, going from Harrisburg to Charlottesville to Blacksburg, and then you guys over towards Norfolk and where Michael Vick used to run, and you got it's a good state for football.
It's a great state. I mean, you think about the guys we have over here right now. I know you guys will talk about recruiting later. Sherrod Koval, who's going to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Vasco, who ODU just got a commit from. He's a star quarterback. He's going to be great one day. All the guys we have from over here. And then, really, I think Liberty's taking control out in the western part of the state.
Yeah, Liberty's really coming up.
Yeah, Liberty's doing a great job last year.
And ODU plays Liberty this year. That's a really heated rivalry.
Well, I enjoyed covering last year. Liberty and Coastal Carolina. Those two were like we had mostly Coastal Carolina and Liberty on the program because they beat Virginia Tech on that last minute field goal. Liberty did, and then they almost went through the whole ACC schedule undefeated, except for that loss to NC State. If they didn't miss that block field, they didn't get that block field goal. We would have had Hugh Freeze would have been perfect through the ACC. And this year, looking at their schedule, Euan, guess who Liberty goes to? Mississippi.
Wow, that is something.
Yeah, I want to say that's a homecoming for Hugh Freeze because Hugh Freeze put him back on the map, and that's going to be a little more like it's worse than. And I think down there, I think it's probably not worse than Lane Kiffin going to Tennessee.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. So anyway, Reese, talk about your Virginia prep. You do a lot of the high schools around there. Cover all the high schools in the Commonwealth. Just talk about what you do during high school season. You go to a lot of high school games, and
yep. So for Virginia preps, in any given week, I have a Thursday, Friday, and depending on ODU's schedule, a Saturday morning game. If ODU is off, there's a Saturday morning and afternoon game. So I cover about 2 to 4 games a week, plus state championships. Great editor, Matt Hatfield, works for the local ESPN station here. He's been here since 2004. He's great. And then Prep Red Zone, we do recruiting rankings. We do more of the multiplayer recruiting articles, whereas Virginia Preps, you're going to get more of the hard-hitting journalism stuff. I always tell people a subscription to both is going to pay off for you really well. We actually just started Prep Red Zone Virginia May 1st.
Okay.
We're doing great there. A lot of really good camp coverage. We're getting ready to release our updated 22 and 23 rankings this month. 2024 rankings came out last month. Virginia Preps, I also do high school basketball, which is secondary for me. But football will start for me here in probably 2 weeks.
Okay.
Got some team camps coming up soon. Then we can roll into the season. I believe I've seen games start as early as August 27th.
Wow.
So I'll do Fridays, Thursdays, some Saturdays, and I think I average 25 to 30 games a year for them.
Wow.
Yep. So you can find me on the sidelines every weekend. I'm not hard to miss.
Reese, this is awesome, man.
Well, I do have a question to ask you, Reese. What kind of car do you have? Do you have a brand new car? Do you have?
Well, you know what?
Because I still have my car.
I just bought a Tesla.
Oh, you did?
Wow.
That's cool.
But it broke down.
It broke down.
So I said, I'm not going to use a Tesla, so I'm back to my old Jeep.
Okay.
Nice.
Old reliable, right?
I think the Jeep suits you a little bit more than the Tesla, Herbie. I got to throw that out there.
I know.
Hey, you know what?
Speaking of Jeeps. I got to ask you guys a question. With the Jeeps now looking like they have a Jeep and they have the back on it like a truck, do you like that or not?
Well, mine's an 05 Jeep, so I
Yeah.
don't have that.
No, I don't like that either.
Oh, nice. You got something old school, huh?
Yeah,
Reese?
200,000 miles on it, but it gets me from place to place. You're not going to find many sports journalists who wear gold chains driving a Jeep.
Wow, that's awesome,
Who
man.
also play a children's card game on the weekends. I am also a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Oh
What
my
is
God.
that?
It was an anime in the early 2000s that has a card game around it. And every Saturday, when it's not football season, my nephew and I are in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. That's just an aside, but
That's cool,
people know
man.
that. But yeah, you're not gonna find many guys like me who drive an 05 Jeep.
Love that. Herbie, we might have to make a ride down to Virginia. No?
Yeah, I think I should stop.
Go see a Liberty game? You want to go? Is that a Liberty game at home?
No,
No,
it's at Liberty. I don't know. I might be there. Not sure if I've run afoul.
Well, we'll keep in touch with you, Reese, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Euan, that's like
you should come to see though. It's Buffalo at ODU. I know it's not ECC,
right,
but Buffalo has a kid, Kevin Marks Jr., who is from here.
Okay.
Did not go to ODU, so it's gonna be homecoming for him. It's gonna be a good game, but yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone in like a 5-state area, if you have a chance. Cornblau Field, SP Ballard Stadium, the whole thing's brand new. Great concessions. There's not a bad seat in the house. Just watch out for the cannon.
Wow. Okay.
ODU's entrance from at least 2019 is epic. They come out to Crazy Train. There is a halftime light show, strobe show, and it's amazing. I mean, it's probably one of the best places in Conference USA.
Yeah, it looks like, hey, you guys used to be in the Colonial Athletic Conference, so
Yes.
with basketball and and then you came in the league with the football with and I'm glad you guys are doing a successful getting into the Power 5 and hopefully you get to a bowl game. So
Yeah.
Reese, we got to run, but thank you so much for coming on, and we love having you on. We'll get you on before the Wake Forest game. We'll talk more about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
One last thing. James Madison will never move up.
Right. They never will, because like I said, if they did,
Money.
the CAA will be gone.
More money.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reese, for coming on, man. We love you.
Hey,
Thank
Reese,
you.
real quick,
Have a great day.
you have somebody you want to say? We're sorry to hear. There was a kid in your area.
Last night, former Marshall player Jaquan Yulee was killed in a car accident in Virginia.
Okay.
Great kid. Came back from a spinal cord injury in 2019 against VMI. Stellar player. Was going to announce where he was going to go to school because he was in the portal really soon. Just the last 18 months or so have been kind of hard in Virginia. Losing kids, like that. But yeah, I just want to say, thoughts and prayers to that family. And I haven't talked to him since April, but great kid.
We're sorry to hear that, and prayers go out to his family and everybody there. And it's tough to lose somebody that young.
Yeah, 24 years old.
Yeah. All right, big man. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reese.
See ya.
See
All right, that's Reese Becker, who covers the Old Dominion and all that stuff, and Virginia Prep for high schools, and a Jeep near you. Yeah.
I could see him in a Jeep. That Tesla didn't fit him,
I know.
I'm glad it broke down.
I'm glad it did. It's like a cell phone it's a cell phone car. That's what it is.
Right.
It's a cell phone battery, and at this lodge, you're done. My dad and I were talking about it the other day. So, all right, we're waiting for the guy from Calgary Stampeders, Mimba Detange. I think I said it right, but I could probably said it wrong. He's supposed to be coming on around 7:30. I guess he's out there in Calgary. I guess I talked to Calgary yesterday. They said he's all set to go. So I hope he doesn't log in at 7:00 Pacific time, because I'm in bed. Yeah,
you and me both, Herbie. Interesting story, though. He had some time at some very successful time at Maryland. He was in some pro camps, and now he's with the Calgary Stampeders. Is it? I think
Calgary Stampeders. Yeah, they go to old part of the CFL. Doug Flutie used to play up to Calgary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Know that.
And that was back in 94, 95, and my family and I had CFL tickets when Baltimore had a team, and my brother Will stares at Doug Flutie like this. because he's the Miami Hurricane because he beat him in that Hail Mary.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that was
Hail Flutie.
Was that against Notre Dame, that Hail Mary?
No, it was against Miami. It was down
Okay, it was against Miami. Okay.
And it
Gotcha. Who do you got on your power rankings, Herbie?
Well, the power rankings I found. It's our ACC power rankings. I want to say here's the 14 through 10 I found yesterday, and I don't know if you and I agree. Number 14, Syracuse.
Yeah, they were at the bottom of the barrel last year. I don't see much changing. I believe Tommy DeVito is back, but he's just hasn't been consistent. He just seems to really just look at the rush, especially when that offensive line hasn't been good in years. But continued.
Number 13, Duke.
David Cutcliffe is one of our favorite people, but he just hasn't been able to get his quarterback, and they have a very tough schedule this year. So it's going to be tough for Duke to make a bowl this year.
Yeah. So anyway, number 12, Florida State.
That's tough for you, Herbie. That's tough, man. I mean,
yeah, tough there. Yeah, and so he was not in position to go on the camera appropriate time. Okay, I guess we'll get him on another time.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we'll go back to our power ranking. I guess we had miscommunication. I don't know how it was. We'll talk about that later. Number 11, Georgia Tech. Yeah. I think Collins did a good job last year putting him back on the map after the 12 years of Paul Johnson option.
Yeah, it's going to take them a little while. I mean, but they've got some pretty good athletes, and then I believe it's Jeff Sims. Herbie is their quarterback, and he showed some signs last year. I mean, at least they got a quarterback who could throw the football down the field. Years ago, you couldn't say that about this team.
Exactly, I agree with you. And now at number 10, Virginia Tech. We were talking about Virginia Tech. I think this year, I know a couple of years ago, Justin Fuente was looking to go to Baylor, and wanted to get out of town. But I think this year he needs to turn this thing around because there's no Bud Foster anymore. It's just him. And I think the people in Blacksburg are kind of restless.
Kind of? Yeah. I mean, this is a program that is used to winning and used to being dominant at home, Herbie. And the last couple of years, it just hasn't, for one reason or another, come to fruition. And I would say that out of all the coaches in the ACC, I think Justin Fuente is on the hottest seat.
Yeah.
Because of that success that this program is used to. I mean, the other teams that we mentioned, obviously, Florida State back in the day, but, Virginia Tech has been very good more recently than those other teams.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. And then let's go to number 9 here. Number 9 to 6, Wake Forest.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hey, I'm thinking I might have to sprinkle a little something on ODU getting more than 4 touchdowns after talking to Reese. I'm not sure if he's going to want a piece of the action, but yeah.
What do you think? That guy from Texas A&M?
Absolutely. So that's what I think about.
Euan, I can see you next week going, what's the odds?
Yeah. Well, it's great that I didn't know. I mean, 4 touchdowns, that's a lot, but you're right. That no one's seen ODU play, but that quarterback, he says he's pretty good. So we'll see what happens.
I agree with the 4 touchdowns thing because ODU did not play last year. And This is the first year with the new coach, technically. So they don't know what they're going to have. If they played a single game last year, then you would have had something on film. But if you talk to Dave Clawson next week, he's going to say the same thing. We had to go back to 2019, and that's a total different offense. So we don't even know. Number 8, Louisville. I think what's his name? Scott Satterfield, who was on the way to get out of Louisville. He was supposed to be on his way to somewhere. Some coach wanted him, some program wanted him, but he stayed.
Well, we'll see. Another year with Malik Cunningham. I mean, everything kind of post Lamar Jackson has been kind of a toss-up. But, defensively, Louisville's just got to find some stability, Right. They just give up so many big plays. And I have Malik Cunningham as the fourth best quarterback in the ACC, but I agree with their standings. They're probably the eighth, ninth best team in the conference.
Exactly. Then you got Virginia, number 7. I think Brendan Mendenhall is his Bronco is doing a great job down there in Charlottesville. He changed everything over from Mike London and everybody else. I feel like that's going to be. He's on his verge to. They did go to an ACC Coastal Division championship. They did play Clemson and got derailed. Everybody gets derailed in Charlotte. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, we got to find some super team. If there's like a super team somewhere, it's maybe Notre Dame when they've actually had people.
Yeah. I know, right? Well, you know what? Now that gosh, talking about and thinking about that ACC championship game, and Bryce Perkins was Mr. Do Everything for that team. So we'll see. We'll see. They're always competitive. They're hard nosed, and like you said, they have a very good coach. So let's see what happens.
And then up in Boston College, number 6, Jeff Hayfield or Haley took over for Steve Adazio, who is now in Colorado State. And I think Jeff did a great job last year. I had a chance to talk to him on Zoom, and he was always up front. Told him it sounded like I was listening to Jimbo Fisher. He was not not milking it or anything. He was saying this is what we need to do.
Oh yeah, he's always been straightforward, and it shows. Boston College has traditionally been one of the more disciplined teams in terms of penalties and personal fouls. So we'll see what happens. If they could run the football and Phil can have a good year underneath center, we'll see what happens.
Exactly. All right, so 5-1 right now. We're going to get to the top 5. Number 5, NC State.
Yeah, the Wolfpack. To me, really 3 through 6 is just it is a bed of mediocrity, Herbie, because I believe that North Carolina and Clemson are so much better than any of those other teams. The Wolfpack, hey, we have great QB, roots, but they just haven't been able to kind of get over the hump. They've been sitting at 500 the last couple seasons, and I think they're there again this year.
All right, so number 4, Kenny Pickett's back at Pittsburgh for the final season. Number 4, Pittsburgh. We'll play Jimbo Colvert's interview in a couple minutes, but he was raising about how Kelly Pickett's around for one more year. Do you think Pittsburgh's number 4?
I would probably. I'm not sure. There's so much. I think they're. Just because their defense has usually been so stout and they're well coached, we'll see. Your guess is as good as mine, Herbie. I haven't even seen any spring ball with them yet. No. I haven't watched any tape, but they're middle of the pack, definitely.
Yeah, and then number 3.
Yeah, we touched on their opening day game against Alabama. We touched on their quarterback, Manny Diaz. You talk about a program that's rich in tradition and it's really just falls short. The Hurricanes, they fell in love with that turnover chain. They fell in love with that, that top 5 ranking that they had. And then ever since then, it's just been all downhill for the Hurricanes.
I think that Thanksgiving game in Pittsburgh changed everything because when they played against Notre Dame on that primetime game down in the Pro Player Stadium and ran Brian Kelly out the door, Brian Kelly was completely dumbfounded. We didn't know what the hell had happened. But, I feel Miami ever since then he's playing catch up. And last year, it looked like they were getting better. But they didn't turn the corner. They went 2 steps forward and 2 steps back.
Right.
And then in the bowl game, you lost King with an ACL. Then you bring in Perry, who basically transferred now. I don't know where he's playing, but he actually played a great game, and I feel like they should have kept him around. But you got King, who's a good quarterback from Houston. What are you going to do? Can you keep Malcolm? You want to keep Perry on the bench, or you want him to go get some college experience?
Right, absolutely, Herbie. And then, no surprise, our top 2. I think this is pretty much across the board. Herbie, North Carolina should be explosive again on offense. The continued development of Sam Howell is going to, really put this team in the forefront, I believe, in a national spotlight, just like Clemson.
Exactly, and I feel like Mac Brown. This is what Mac Brown's second season or
I think
third
it's his
season?
third year.
Third year. We haven't seen him since 2019, but when he spent a lot of years on the mic instead of being a coach, and I feel like Mac Brown grew up as a coach because now he knows how to handle players. Because back in Texas and back in North Carolina when he was the first go around, I don't think he knew how to handle them. I think he
Right.
kind of let them do whatever they want to do, and some of them got in trouble and all that stuff. But I feel like Mac Brown is growing up as a coach, and I think he learned a lot from all these different media people he met along the way because he was doing some games, for ESPN,
Right.
and he learned from different coaches. Like Dabo Sweeney, welcomed him into his office and sat down and had a conversation with him. Then Dabo had to play him a year later. That was a good game there in Chapel Hill.
Well, I think, what impressed me, Herb, is his willingness to adapt to the run pass option, adapt to the play calling, really open things up. And it's done nothing but suited Sam Howell and the big play wide receivers, even the running game. They lost a lot of talent to the NFL, but as long as you got that gunslinger back there, he can make things happen.
Oh, yeah. And Sam Howell, is good. And Clemson right now, I feel like Clemson's big Achilles heel is who's going to take over for Trevor Lawrence. You had a kid who basically only lost 2 games. He was like a Ken Dorsey, only lost 2 games. Went to usual big bowl games, went to a lot of national championship games, brought one title home, and it got messed up on the other ones. But I feel like we don't know what type of team Clemson's going to be. Are they going to still stick to the run because Travis Etienne is gone now? His brother's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what Etienne is going to show up, and then you got DJ, who is we saw 2 games. He has a good arm. He played. He threw out some good passes against Notre Dame in prime time, but he hasn't been there for the whole season.
Right. But I mean, potentially wise, the lights. I mean, we talk about that Notre Dame game and we forget the hype that was surrounding it. We forget that the intensity. We forget what was on the line, and he played great when the lights were on. So there's really no reason for me to think that he's going to have much of a drop off. Plus, I have to tell you, Herbie, the play calling is just outstanding for Clemson. The way they keep defenses off balance, I think he's just going to continue to grow. So I think he's just got a huge upside.
I agree. Folks, I want to, before we start playing our interview real quick with, Jimbo Colvert and then Ralph Sampson, we're live on TikTok. You can go to TikTok and watch my videos to promote our broadcast. So getting back in, we're trying to get into the good social media area there, Euan.
Absolutely. Right on, Herbie.
Yeah. So let's first of all, let's play my interview with Jimbo Colvert, former Chicago Bear, who played his college ball at Pitt, got recruited by Jimmy Johnson, in his recruiting days. So let me play the interview real quick. I asked him about Pitt and what is it going to look like this year, playing against the folks in the ACC. So here it is. My question is on making it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I got to ask you a Pitt Panther question because played with the Panthers. You guys weren't in the ACC. You were probably in the Big East or independent at the time. What do you think about their chances now in the ACC? I know they made it to the Coastal Division Championship a couple years ago and played Clemson and got blown out of Charlotte. Do you feel like this year, if you look from afar, they could actually get back there?
Oh, I think so. I think with the veteran quarterback they've had, it's his 4th year as a starter. So I think he's going to, do a great job. And, I think Pat Narduzzi has done a tremendous job. I mean, we've had our ups and downs at Pitt and from a football record perspective, but I feel like, last year, I thought we had a really good opportunity, but then this pandemic hit and, people were opting out and it just was kind of a weird kind of a scenario. So I think this year has a great opportunity for this team and I'm really looking forward to that.
And if I can ask a quick follow-up. Yeah, we'll talk about the other follow-up with him later. That's for another time only. So yeah, he's on the. I think he's drinking the Panther Kool-Aid.
Well, we love Pat Narduzzi. Let's say that. If there's one guy.
Oh, Pat loves you, man. I'm waiting for next week. Pat's going to look at you and go, that boy's right on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all fired up.
Last time you were there, you were like,
oh, yeah. It's like, that guy's engaged. Yeah, I'm going to be all over it, man. So we got to prep for those interviews. But, I just love his energy. I love his mindset. I love his positivity. And I hope that equates to more wins for this program next year.
Yeah, I hope this year. And they open up against they play against New Hampshire. They play people in the ACC. They got they have to go to Tennessee to take on Tennessee, in an SEC battle. That's going to be a very interesting year for the Panthers. And we're going to talk to them next week. So it's a good thing. Last week I was pretty busy. I talked to this gentleman, a former Virginia Cavalier great who was a pro basketball Hall of Famer, Ralph Sampson. A little backstory, where my parents and I have a house in McCackeyville, he does a basketball camp at Massanutten, for the kids during the summer. And last year at this time, I talked to him during the COVID situation. This year, everybody's back and he's happy with the kids and all that stuff. So I talked to him last Thursday. So here's part 1 of 2 that we'll play the part 2 another time. So here it is. Hello, everybody, and good morning. We have Ralph Sampson, former Virginia Cavalier all-time great and a pro basketball Hall of Famer, who is down in Harrisonburg, Virginia, doing his basketball camp every summer at Massanutten. So, Ralph, thanks for joining us. First of all, happy birthday from yesterday. How was camp yesterday with the kids?
Yeah, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Camp for kids is always good, and you get to be in the gym and just mix and mingle with kids and help them with their basketball skills, but also life skills as well. So
that's cool. Talk about this time last year. We talked COVID-19 was the big issue. How is camp now? Is everything back to what it was before?
After last year, we wasn't able to get the camp away through the COVID issue, and we just shut it down. But this year we still have our COVID restrictions. No matter what, because some of them are still younger, the parents are still out there, they might not be vaccinated yet. So we just make sure we protect everybody that we possibly can in the facility. Massanutten does a great job of maintaining the cleanliness and the social distance in the facility. So a great part of the town area, and we love the camps, and we'll continue to do it.
That's cool. That's awesome. So you guys, you started this camp in June of this year, and it runs all the way to August? Don't know if did you hear me?
I didn't want to straighten out, or maybe it's you or me. I don't know.
Okay, I can hear you now. I know you're, I know about Massanutten and the mountains and all that stuff.
It might be tough,
Yeah. Your camp runs from June all the way to August, right? And is it every week, or is it or is it you guys, what do you guys do?
Yeah, it runs from June to August, maybe like 6-7 weeks of camp, 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we go from 9 to 12. You can register at, through Massanutten and the resort. The links, our new website is coming up soon. You can register there. I'll link to Massanutten as well sometime in the next week or so. But we are moving aggressively to that. But it's fun to be able to do this here and see a lot of kids. I mean, it's funny because you start them on Tuesday and see them, and you don't know them that well. But on Wednesday, you get to know them well, and then Thursday they leave. And it's a sad day when they leave because you got used to them and they've gotten used to you. So hopefully we can still stay connected to these kids in one way, shape, or form, and help them, down the road as well.
Yeah. Well, you're from Harrisburg, Virginia, and I was looking at your stuff, your bio, and all, and I talked to you last year. You went to Virginia to play basketball. Were you even considered playing basketball for JMU? Was JMU ever in the picture?
No, they were never in the picture. Hometown, they were still trying to get with Lou Campanelli on the map. So, at that point in time, he's still today. JMU is a great school, don't get me wrong, and great academic program, and they just built a new basketball facility, but they're still not compared to UVA at this time or back then for sure.
Right, exactly. I agree. I was just wondering because I was looking because you came in high school down there, the great star down there, and you played against Sam Bowie, who you guys went toe to toe in high school games, and I'm thinking like, wow, you guys you could have been at JMU and helped JMU become what JMU is now without with softball and everything else.
You weren't thinking that way back then because they didn't have a nucleus of players coming there, and people weren't attending, and the gym was small. Academically it was solid. Okay, great. But, at that point in time, even look at today, no big time player, unless you have a great coach anywhere, is going to come there and have a good program. But JMU is starting to get down with their new facility. I think they have a coach now that may help with that. I don't know we'll see what happens with that, but it's got to pan out. It's got to be successful.
Yeah. Well, you went there as an assistant coach with Lefty Gazelle. What was it like being his assistant coach for a couple of years?
It was great. I mean, the left-hander is a special man in the college basketball scene and life. And I appreciate his tutelage while I was coaching with him, but also he recruited me at Maryland. So we got a long history and great relationship. And I had him on my radio show and podcast as well. Not too long ago, he's doing well. Can't get around as much as he used to, but he's a left-hander and he's still unique in his own right.
Nice. Let's talk about your podcast. Where can people listen to your show? Because I know we. All right, so that will be our part 2 with that the next time around. Because sorry for the audio. When you're driving, you can't really do an interview.
Yeah, it's tough, but it was great to have one of the all-time greats on the show. I mean, he really was. I'd say one of probably the top 5 centers. I don't know. It's tough. At least in college, who's one of the top 5 centers of all time.
Well, he put Virginia on the map.
Oh, no question.
Because Virginia wasn't that dominant until he showed up. And then Virginia stayed relevant during the ACC during the early 80s, early 90s, and then you see it when Bennett comes in, takes them to the national championship game. They won it. They lost to UMBC. So. Everybody still talks about here about UMBC knocking them off, but that didn't do anything to Virginia. It made them more stronger.
No, it actually did. I mean, Look what happened the year after. So that was a great interview, though. I mean, it's good to have him on the program. I love to see it. Anyone doing anything with kids these days is fantastic. So good that he's giving something back.
Exactly. Folks, if you want to, let me do some housekeeping here real quick. If you want to join us, we're actually on YouTube. You can watch us now live on YouTube. You see my mug and Euan's mug. Hi, everybody. Yeah. We could actually do that. You could actually, Euan, do you want people to send you good emails, anything?
Maybe when the season starts, yeah.
Okay. Well, when the season starts, folks, you can send him an email and ask him any questions about gambling or anything you need to know. That's your guy. Do not
We're gonna make some money. We're gonna make some money on the show this year, people.
We should make a disclaimer. We should make a disclaimer. Do not come after me if I lose you $5.
All right, yeah, we'll have that at the end of the show. We'll put a little
Euan is not liable for your stupidity.
Yeah, your losses. Absolutely. Herbie, who do we have coming on at 8:00?
Well, we got him in the bullpen right now, Tim Chapman.
Let's bring him on.
Let's bring him on here. Hi, Tim.
Gentlemen, how are you?
TC, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm living very well right now. This is the height of college football preseason, preview season coming up. I've got my mags. I've got, data upon data upon data. Listen to any and all podcasts. There it is. Nice. That is I honestly feel I can't live without that. So it was a good day last week when I purchased that.
Oh, I got this the other day in the mail, and I'm like, I'm bringing this to Charlotte, and Euan could actually use it if he needs to do some research, because this is the research manual that we're going to use. This thing is really good by Phil Steele here. It's in depth with everything. I feel like I could go to sleep with this book. No offense to my girlfriend. Sorry. Yeah, but anyway, big first week of college football right out of the chute, man. You got these 3 big ACC games and SEC games. You got Clemson and Georgia going at it and down in Charlotte. I guess the winner gets free mayo for a year, or we had the mayo guy on last week. I don't know what they get after this whole thing, but these two teams don't like each other. It's a rivalry, and they haven't played since 2014 when this is pre Dabo Swinney making it to the national championship game. So what do you think about this game?
Well, I really don't think that you can kick off with a better week one matchup than these two top three opponents, really. I mean, I haven't seen all the polls steady yet, but you've got to figure these two have got to be in the top four at the very least. So, I look at, Clemson's favored by 4 points, and I look at the games that Clemson lost last year, Notre Dame and Ohio State. Now, Notre Dame had a good run game. They had a steady quarterback, and they had a good defense. So their opponent this year, the Georgia Bulldogs, I think that they're better in all three of those phases than Notre Dame was last year. I think Georgia's got a better run game than the Irish did last year. I think they've got a little bit more steady quarterback in JT Daniels than Ian Book was last year, and they certainly have a good, aggressive defense. And then you look at Ohio State, the other team that the Tigers lost to. They had a better quarterback than Georgia's got this year. They have better receivers than Georgia has this year, but I don't think that their run game was as good. And keep in mind, Trey Sermon rushed for, I think, 198 yards against Clemson last year. And I like the duo of Zamir White and Kendall Milton a lot better than what Trey Sermon was last year. So, I mean, Clemson, they've got DJ, Big Cinco. He played very well last year, didn't beat Notre Dame, but you look at what happened, the Irish kind of let him move down the field, and they kept everything in front, but they didn't really – Clemson was not able to attack the red zone very well. And I think that's going to be big in this matchup here. So, Clemson's got an entire defense of all ACC players. And I mean, literally on my all ACC team, I've got 6 of them on my first team, 2 of them on my second team. And they fared better against teams that were more one-dimensional last year, leaning on the pass, that is. So, Clemson also struggled when teams kept things in front and prevented passing touchdowns. This happened in Notre Dame part 1 and then Ohio State. Their quarterback threw for a lot of yards, but only 2 touchdowns Uiagalelei had. And a lot has been made of Georgia's secondary, especially at cornerback, being an issue, but they certainly have the talent there. And I think that Georgia's secondary is really being underrated as we head into the fall camps here. And not just from the transfer portal. I mean, they got Tyke Smith from West Virginia. They got Darian Kendrick from Clemson. But recruiting, they've done really well also. Keely Ringo didn't play last year, but he was the number 1 defensive back in the 2019 class and the number, I think, 3 overall recruit. And then there's Jalen Kimber. There's Nyland Green. And then they've got safeties like Lewis Seen and Christopher Smith, who coaches have been boasting about this spring. So I think this one's going to come down and meet all the expectations for a great game. And it'll be down to 1 score. And these teams are about as evenly matched as you could want, Herbie. But I think Georgia is riding a little bit more momentum, and they have the deciding factors in their favor, a proven quarterback and a proven run game. So I'm going to take the Dogs to beat the 4 points and win outright. Yeah,
PC coming out of the block strong, Herbie. Holy mackerel. I wasn't ready for that.
Man, it was like better than McGregor, It looks like McGregor coming out without breaking his arm,
Wow, man. He's like, you know what, Herbie? He's like, take the 4 points and run with it, baby. You might not even need them, TC, huh? Tim, every year seems like we have this approach that it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then where's that 4th team? What, is it going to be a Power 5? Or are we finally going to get an independent? Give us a program that you see that could potentially crack the college football playoff this year.
In terms of a team outside those 3, or a team that hasn't made it yet?
Outside of the big 3.
Well, I think Oklahoma for sure. I like them to go undefeated and win the Big 12 championship. And I do think that Lincoln Riley gets his first playoff victory this year, whomever it may be against, because like I said, I see them going undefeated. So that's probably going to put them at a 2 or 3 seed, assuming that, one of those big 3 is undefeated ahead of them. And hear me on this one. There's an outside shot for the Wisconsin Badgers to make the college football playoff because they're set up to go 11-1 going into the Big Ten championship. And if they catch Ohio State on an off week, I think Ohio State runs the tables and goes undefeated. They play in Indianapolis. But if Wisconsin wins that game, they're going to have wins over a ranked Notre Dame team. They're going to have wins over Michigan, Penn State to start the season, who I think both those programs are going to be up again. So you're looking at potentially a 12-1 Wisconsin team, which would include most recently a win over a top 3 Ohio State program. Right. I think that would definitely get them in and might even put them at a number 2 seed. So those are my 2 off the top of my head here.
Okay, cool.
I agree with Oklahoma because I saw them. I was watching by Zoom. I was watching the Sugar Bowl, and my brother's a Florida Gator, and he didn't really want to watch the game anymore because they got rid of Texas. And I'm sorry, Trask had no idea how to throw a football because he was throwing to the wrong color. I don't know if you saw Jerry Jones in the stands or something like that. I want to give him the football, but Oklahoma ran him out of the Jerry world like you never seen before. And I asked Lincoln Riley, what does this mean for him? Because I felt like that's something that monkey's off his back now. He beat a big team in Florida in a big bowl game. Now let's go to a college football playoff game and knock off Clemson or Ohio State or somebody.
Yeah, and what bothered me about that game is because of the huge margin of victory, the narrative I heard from more people is not how good Oklahoma was. It was how overrated Florida was. But let's remember, they were only a 7-point loser to the national champion Alabama Crimson Tide. And, I mean, they were right there in the thick of things. Had they not stubbed their toe against Texas A&M, Florida was one of the top 4 teams in the country. So I was kind of disgusted at that national narrative, taking more away from Oklahoma because of what Florida, quote unquote, wasn't, as opposed to giving the Sooners their due.
Tim, we predominantly focus in on the ACC, and I got to tell you, I have been since his freshman year, redshirt freshman, I have been so impressed with Sam Howell, how he conducts himself, his leadership, his pocket presence. The kid seems to have all the tools. Where's the limit for UNC this year?
I think they're for me a favorite in that Coastal, and I heard you guys talking about Pitt earlier. I think Pitt's a good sleeper team there. A lot of people are going to say that Miami has got a shot, but a lot of that plays on Derek King. If he stays healthy and if he has an even better performance than he did in his sophomore year at Houston, then I think that they've got a shot. But Mac Brown has recruited well, and the biggest gem that he's got is Sam Howell. Some people are wondering, well, what is his receiver situation going to look like? What's it going to look like in the backfield? They've got the dudes, and they've got a great offensive line in front of him. Their defense is better this year. So I see North Carolina winning the Coastal, and I think they're going to give Clemson a run for their money in that ACC championship. So if you're asking me the ceiling, I think it's college football playoff, assuming that they lose no more than one game and they knock off the Tigers in an upset in the ACC championship. But I see the floor being 10-2. I mean, if they fall below 10 wins, and there's something seriously that went astride this year.
Exactly. Let's talk about the other ACC SEC battle. You got Miami versus Alabama. Yep. These 2 schools haven't played each other since when I was in elementary school, pretty much. And Miami lost to Alabama in 1993. And my brother Will is a Miami Hurricane fan. And we don't talk about this game because it's forbidden in my house. Because if I bring up 93 Sugar Bowl, I might get a something thrown at me.
Right.
Or he might tell me to get out of the house.
Right.
So let's talk about this game. You got King is the quarterback from Miami, who basically you probably saw a couple of weeks ago. He said, and I quote, "We could beat Miami. Yeah, Miami could beat Alabama." What did you think about that? You don't want to. We've been talking about him and I for the last 2 weeks. You don't poke a bear.
Yeah, but I always kind of roll my eyes when people make a big deal about that. I mean, what are you expecting someone to say? Clearly, especially as your quarterback, you want him to have confidence. And people make these claims all the time, and when they don't come to fruition, nobody really cares. It's only really made a big deal afterwards if it actually happens. So I credit Derek King for having that confidence, but let's be real. Alabama's an 18-point favorite for a reason. Right. They're defending their national title, and the thing I love about Nick Saban is he's never really happy other than the 25 minutes after victory. So we saw it in the spring game. He's always coaching these guys, whether it's Clemson or Furman, whether it's a playoff game or the spring game, whether it's game 7 or a 7-on-7. he's going to start with the proverbial chip on his shoulder. And this year, the Miami Hurricanes are in the way of that. Now, that being said, I kind of made the point a couple months ago that if De'Aaron King is not literally 100%, should Miami play him a full game? Because Miami is really playing for that Coastal Division Championship and a chance at the ACC. I don't see them having a realistic shot against Alabama. So if De'Aaron King has any sort of limitations, I think you take him out and you rely on that run game with Cameron Harris and Knighton and Chaney and a pretty good offensive line. And you start to, work those receivers in a little bit with the two freshman quarterbacks. Don't put them in a situation where they can do a lot of damage, but, take your lumps and then go through the ACC season. So, I see this game. The spread is Bama by 18. Like I said, only twice, guys, in 14 years, and not at all in the last 6 years, has Alabama's margin of victory been any closer than 18 points in their opener.
Wow.
So, that's a pretty telling stat. And that includes 5 teams. That includes 5 teams that were ranked in the top 20 and 3 in the top 8, which Miami is going to be in the top 20. So give me the Tide to roll and cover the 18. And I honestly expect this number to go down by game week. So it'll make it an even easier cover for Tide fans. And they're so deep that I don't even have to worry about a backdoor cover. So, yeah.
Wow. Tim, we got to have you. We got to do a whole gambling segment, man. Forget about this roundtable stuff, dude. I love it.
We're going to have gambling night on this program. I think we'll do that the week before.
This is epic, Tim.
Yeah.
Hey, TC, I want to ask you, obviously it was limited action and cleanup for DJ last year. But, I got to tell you, man, I watched this kid, even against, Notre Dame, which was a loss, but the moment wasn't too big for him.
No.
Talk about his, before we even get into his skill set, his mental state and his poise. What have you seen from him like last year that would give Clemson Tiger fans just even more optimism this year?
Well, it's like you said, I mean, he doesn't seem to be fazed by anything. And that goes back to when he was a sophomore in high school. He was kind of featured in a background role on that QB1 program on Netflix. And they were following Real Mitchell, who is actually now at his second school. He started at Iowa State. Now he's at Temple, and I think he's going to be a backup there. And you saw this big kid with a lot of poise, DJ Uyunglele, and, in Notre Dame Stadium last year, he did what was asked of him, and he didn't seem to flinch. And so I think, like I said, it's a very tough defense he's going to go against in Georgia, but I think he's going to show up well. I don't know necessarily that he's going to light the world on fire, but I don't think that he's going to leave people going away from that game saying, well, he's not ready yet. I think he is ready. And I think it's a little bit inflated to consider him a top 3 Heisman candidate right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he catches fire because he's got great receivers to throw to. And that's not even really getting into 2 quality freshmen that are coming in, Dakari Collins and Bo Collins, no relationship. But Bo Collins was his teammate out in California. I think it was St. John Bosco in California. I can't remember exactly the name of the high school, but nonetheless, he's got familiarity and, they reload at Clemson. So, he'll be fine. I think I don't have one worry about him whatsoever.
That's true. Well, real quick, one last game we got to do, the SEC and ACC battle, Louisville and Mississippi. This was probably made back 5 years ago when Lamar Jackson was rolling through the ACC. And, this is now on Labor Day night. What do you expect with this game? I feel bad for Gary Stokin and the people in the Peach Bowl. We're going to talk to him next week, but he said the ticket sales might be great for it. But I think Louisville's going to run them out of Atlanta and say, see you later. Have a great day.
Yeah, I honestly have Louisville winning this game. Right now, they're an 8-point dog, which is a bit high in my opinion. Ole Miss, they can light it up on offense, and Lane Kiffin always brings entertainment. But Scott Satterfield is a winning coach, and I think it's going to come down to the 2 defensive coordinators. You've got Brian Brown in his second year at Louisville, and you've got DJ Durkin in his second year at Ole Miss. So if Ole Miss can jump to a double-digit lead and play well to hold it, then I think they've got the overall advantage. They're a more talented team on paper than Louisville is. But if Louisville can stay steady, or if Louisville, I'm sorry, can steady a potential early storm and stay close, and make the proper adjustments, I think they do pull the quote-unquote upset. I actually like the Cards to beat the 8-point spread, and they could win it outright as well. And this is an underrated Louisville team. I think that they win 8, maybe even 9 games and finish third in that Atlantic Division this year behind Clemson and others. So
that's true. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. We will get you on before this first week of games, and we'll have a night of gambling. Because I think we should be doing that, because I think you will enjoy. You will host.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me, Tim? This is awesome.
We'll have the poll questions up, I'll do my old Vanna White situation here. But we'll have some fun. And are you making a trip to any media days coming up this week or next week?
Unfortunately, no. I had a vacation planned with my daughters, so I'm not able to make to any media days. And unfortunately, Big Ten media days, which is where I live, I'm in Big Ten country. It doesn't seem like that's going to be, personnel allowed. I mean, they're going to be in person, but I don't know of any media that are going to be allowed there. So not this year, but I'm a sponge, guys. I'm soaking it all in on the net. So let's go, baby.
That's cool.
Nice, DC. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Really enjoyed having you.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys. I'll be back anytime you want me.
See you.
Awesome.
See you. All right. That's
what a great guest.
From the National Football writer, radio host, producer, and podcaster. So that's going to be thanks for him for joining us. I truly think that Louisville, Mississippi game is going to be one of those ABC thing going, when's Monday Night Football starting up? Yeah.
Well, it's not a huge game, but it's I like obviously the ACC against the SEC bragging rights, conference strength. You never know. We'll see what happens, Sorby. But
we got to see what's going on. We're waiting for Rob Sanders to join us. I texted him earlier today, and he said he's all set to go. So I guess he's running a little behind, but we're here till 8:30. Any other storylines we're going to talk about for next week here, bud? Or we're going to head on down to Charlotte, your old stomping grounds for a week, for a couple of days. What do you think? What do you want to see down there?
Well, I just I want to talk to these coaches and players and media members and see where the dark horse is in the ACC. I mean, it's kind of the who's been at the top will remain at the top with Clemson. I think that's going to be a unanimous. But goodness, man, I love underdogs and I love a dark horse. I want to know who's going to challenge them. I think obviously their biggest challenge is week 1, but who's going to raise some eyebrows? Who's going to have a much better season than what we predict? And we'll do the predictions for the ACC standings next week when we're at Charlotte. But I just want to get a sense, Herbie. I mean, it's great to just be around football again.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to be down there. We got through our stuff last year, and we all of us got healthy and stayed home, and I think it's time for me to get on the road and get back to what I was doing, from 2019, and go to the games and do some media days and talk to coaches. And I'm looking forward to talk to my Florida State coach, because I'm not really happy with him right now.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Hey, it's an interesting storyline with Milton McKenzie coming in, Herb. I'm interested. I haven't looked at his spring. I haven't looked at any spring tape yet, but I'm going to, and I'll be ready. I'll be ready to see what the Noles bring this year, man. It's great to have a fresh face underneath center. And if this kid can do anything like he did before he got hurt, if he can produce, you might be in for a much better season than anticipated. Exactly,
and I agree with you. And you're going to see a different type of player, and these are the notable players I found on what we got from the ACC. We talked about, Mackenzie Milton going to be there for Florida State. DJ is going to be there for Clemson, and King and our good friend, I forgot what's his name, the guy from North Carolina. But anyway, Sam Howell's going to be there as well. I feel like that's going to be a great thing. I think. And let me play some footage I found from our good friend. This is what it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And it's a big, big thing, folks. Everybody from the ACC who covered the ACC comes to the Western, and they pile in this one area. One area of the, at that time, that's where the ACC network was up and running. But, this is next week, and, I'm looking forward to it.
No, it should be. We always have such a good good time. And it's going to be great, Herbie. It's going to be great to be with you in Charlotte. Looking forward to it. So safe trip, and we'll be giving everyone updates next week about the show. And
yeah. Let me send Rob a question to see if he's coming on or if something happened or something, and we'll wrap this up in a minute or so. I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah, so let me see what's going on. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, no worries, Herbie. Yeah, so it's we always enjoy the food down there. They take care of us. The accommodations are fantastic, and
the food, man. I think we're going to put a lot of LBs on.
Yeah, hey, I'm down at 216, man. I'm feeling great, Herbie.
Me too. I'm feeling good because I'm outside working at the Home Depot, and working on the mulching and sod. But I'm sorry, but I missed that bacon in the morning.
Yeah. Well, Herbie, you know what? It's been a great show. Hopefully we can get Rob on next time, and our other guests from the Stampede, maybe Tanya from the Stampede. But big thanks to Tim and our other guests who have come on today.
Exactly. I just sent Rob a question real quick to see if he's coming on or not, but we'll get him on. We'll see him down there. But
absolutely, we'll see him on there. So I will see you next Tuesday at the hotel, my man. Great show, and another night closer to football, baby. Let's go.
Yes, and exactly. And we're going to be down there next week. We're not going to be doing shows like we used to do. We're not going to run ragged like we always did. We're going to do if there's something big, we'll join in on StreamYard, so see the website. Yeah. But we're going to probably do the show when we get back home. I'm thinking Monday following week.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, Herbie.
Yeah, because we can get people to come on, and plus we got that week of the 27th. I got the CAA Media Day, and
it's going to be big.
Yes. So,
okay, man. Great job putting the show together. Love you. See you in Charlotte in next week. I'm out of here.
All right. Have fun.
All right, buddy. Later. Love you, pal.
Later. Yes, folks. We are rolling to Carolina, next week. Let's play this little guy named James Taylor. So we're waiting for Rob to send me a message if something happened to him. I don't know, what happened to him. But we'll get those people on next week. So in the meantime, we got Carolina in my mind.
In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? And ain't it just like a friend of mine to hit me from behind? Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. Karen, she's a silver sun. You best walk her away and watch it shining. Watch her watch the morning come. A silver tear appears